Recording. Deck of Morwenna, 6:43 in the morning. Hannah has been in the water for 2 minutes. I'm documenting in real time because the protocol assigns me to surface observer, and the surface observer's function, based on the first descent protocol, based on what Hannah did for 90 minutes while I was below, is to maintain line of sight and record signal behavior. That's what I'm doing. The recorder is in my left hand. My right hand is on the rail. The objective is to maintain the line of sight condition and document what the node does while Hannah descends. The interval is at 6 seconds. The dive light is visible below the surface. Not clearly. The water is dark and there's no ambient light at this hour. The sky is beginning to gray at the eastern horizon, but hasn't reached the water yet. What I can see is a diffuse illumination moving downward through the water column, not the light itself. The effect of the light on the particulate in the water. A cone of slightly less dark descending. I can track it. I have been watching it for 2 minutes, and I can confirm she's descending at a controlled rate, not the retrieval speed from my ascent, a managed descent. She's working the cable hand over hand the way the protocol describes. The illumination cone is at approximately 15 meters based on the rate of descent and elapsed time. Rough estimate. The interval is holding at 6 seconds. I said the protocol warns against initiating below 7. She went at 7. The node dropped to 6 after she entered the water. I want to be precise about the sequence. She descended, then the interval dropped, not the reverse. The node responded to her entry, the same way it responded to my contact, a step down, not a collapse. The question I'm sitting with is whether 6 is a floor or whether it continues to step. I don't know. I'm watching the water and counting and not touching the cable. Something changed at the surface at approximately 6:46. I want to describe this carefully because I may be wrong about what I observed, and I want the description accurate regardless of interpretation. The water around the hawse fitting, a radius of approximately 2 meters, changed texture, not color. The water is the same dark gray it has been. The texture changed. The small surface chop that has been present since we anchored, produced by a low swell from the southwest, became flat within that radius. Not calm in the way water goes calm when wind drops, the chop outside the radius continued. Inside the radius, the surface was glassy, a defined circle of flat water around the cable entry point. I looked at it for approximately 30 seconds before I recorded it because I wanted to confirm it wasn't a trick of the light or my own attention narrowing after 2 hours on deck in the cold. It is not a trick of the light. The flat circle is still there. The boundary between flat and chop is distinct enough that I could draw it. The cable passes through the center of it. The interval is at 6 seconds, 6:51. The illumination cone is no longer visible. I lost it at approximately 6:49. The descent rate and elapsed time put Hannah at 30 to 35 meters at that point, approaching the depth where I lost visibility during my own descent. The particulate in the water thins below a certain depth. The light effect stops propagating upward. I expected to lose visual at some point, and I have lost it, and I'm recording that fact without interpreting it as a problem. The cable is still running through the hawse fitting, still taut, still vibrating at the double pulse rate. The flat circle at the surface is still present. It has not widened, it has not contracted. It is the same 2-meter radius it was when I first noticed it, a consistent boundary. I am maintaining the line of sight condition as best I can interpret it from the surface. The protocol says line of sight maintained from below. That phrasing means the line runs upward from the descent observer to the surface observer. Hannah looking up at me, not me looking down at her. Whether that condition is met when I can no longer see the light, I don't know. I'm staying at the rail. I'm staying visible. If the line of sight is optical from below, she can still see daylight at the surface and I'm a silhouette against it. That's my interpretation. I could be wrong about what the condition requires. 6:58. Signal change. The double pulse stopped. Not stepped down. Stopped. The deck went still between 6:57 and 6:58 and has not resumed. I've been counting for 60 seconds. No pulse. The cable is still taut. I can see the tension in it. But the vibration that has been running through the deck since we anchored at this coordinate is gone. I'm recording the absence carefully because the last time the signal stopped was when I surfaced from first descent. The signal went absent for 4 minutes and then returned as double pulse. The absence preceded a mode change. I don't know what mode comes after double pulse. The cable tension hasn't changed. The flat circle is still at the surface. The sky is lightening. I can see the horizon now, a thin pale line to the east, the water still dark between here and it. No other vessels. No sound except the hull moving against the fenders and the distant sound of the harbor. Morwena's engine is off. We cut it when we anchored. The deck is very quiet with the pulse gone. I am not touching the cable. The protocol says do not attempt surface retrieval. The node will return the investigator when the session is complete. I'm holding the rail and I'm not touching the cable. 7:04. The cable moved, not tension. The cable went slack for approximately 3 seconds, then taut again. One event, a single change in tension, not a rhythmic vibration, not a retrieval. A single slack and taut, then nothing. I don't know what that means. I'm documenting it. The flat circle at the surface disturbed briefly when the cable went slack, a ripple propagating outward from the hawse fitting, then the surface returned to flat. One ripple, then flat again. The signal has not returned. I'm trying to maintain a consistent inventory of observations, and I want to state plainly what I have and don't have. What I have: cable taut, flat circle present, signal absent, one tension event at 7:04, Hannah in the water for 21 minutes. What I don't have: visual on Hannah, signal behavior, any communication from below. The protocol says the node determines duration. The protocol says do not attempt retrieval. I'm following the protocol. I'm following the protocol. 7:11. The signal came back, not double pulse, a single pulse. The original mode, 1 beat, 11-second interval. The pulse that was broadcasting before I descended in first descent. The mode we heard from the harbor dock, from the Heritage Pier, through the harbor floor. The node has returned to its original signal mode. I'm looking at the cable, still taut. I'm looking at the flat circle, still present, but smaller. The radius has contracted. 2 meters when I first noted it, now approximately 1 meter. Still a defined boundary, still flat within it, but smaller. Contracting slowly. I've been watching it for 90 seconds, and it is definitely smaller than when the single pulse returned. The cable is vibrating again, not at the double pulse rate, at the single pulse rate. 11 seconds. The original rhythm in the hull and the deck and the rail under my hand. Hannah is still below. I don't know what the return to single pulse means. The sequence was single pulse, first descent contact, double pulse, retrieval, second descent, signal stop, single pulse return. I can describe the sequence. I cannot tell you what it encodes. 7:17. The flat circle is gone. The surface chop returned across the full water surface simultaneously. Not gradually, not from the edges inward, but all at once. One moment flat, next moment chop. The boundary disappeared. At the same moment, the cable went slack. Not slack and taut. Slack. The cable is hanging loose through the hawse fitting, no tension, the lower section drifting slightly in the current. The harness is not in it. I can see the end of the cable in the water below the fitting, and the quick-release clip at the bottom of it is open. The harness is not attached. Hannah is not on the cable. I'm leaning over the rail looking at the open clip, and I am not. The water beside the hull. Movement. A hand on the Jacob's ladder.